Now, for any of you who are not familiar with our QA StereoChecker, let me just summarize here. The QA StereoChecker offers outstanding precision and accuracy with unbeatable 200 micron resolution. With fast, consistent setup and high-speed image acquisition, physicists can ensure that their CyberKnife machine is at peak performance every day. While originally designed specifically for CyberKnife QA to provide that fast and filmless means of performing QA, it may also be used on other Linux systems to provide quick analysis of single field images, up to 15 by 15 cm. Our manual mode allows users to acquire and composite up to 10 high-resolution images and create DICOM exports for analysis and other applications. Now, performing efficient yet rigorous stereotactic QA on a daily basis helps ensure machine uptime to confidently treat cancer patients. As this screen shows, the existing recommended method for QA from Accuray is generally film. And they have the frequency knowing that film can be a lengthy process. Certain things are only done on a monthly or quarterly basis. However, with a tool such as QA StereoChecker that is filmless and fast, there really is no reason not to do the QA on a daily basis to really be sure of that machine performance. Knowing that the machine is working optimally really translates into security and confidence in your patient treatments. And I'd like to point out here in particular, the MLC picket fence test is recommended as a daily test, but it is a purely subjective qualitative test. There is no analysis against it, whereas the MLC garden fence test, which they recommend on a monthly basis, actually has test criteria that is scored against, and there are error thresholds which the machines need to perform within that threshold tolerance. So if you've got that quantitative data using StereoChecker on a daily basis, why not do that versus your MLC picket fence test? Sure, run the picket fence test in StereoChecker if you want. It's going to keep and record that image for you, just like you would keep and record your film. But you can have your MLC quantitative data on a daily basis, or as frequently as you have MLC treatment plans to be run on a specific day. So what's new in version 3.0? Well, let's go take a look, because it's nothing better than showing you what you got going. So when you log into StereoChecker, you're either going to be on the last page that you were in, which it just was, or you're going to land on the home page. First, I just want to quickly show you that you have a light mode and a dark mode. So whatever is easiest on your eyes is the one to use. You'll also notice up here that this top bar is the menu bar, and we have it organized by the things that you would do most frequently to least frequently. So you're going to perform your daily QA, you're going to review your QA, and you're going to do trending. On a daily, weekly, whatever you're doing, you have these things here on the left very quickly. Before I go into those, I just also want to point out this blue box, which shows you who, I'm logged into the system right now. If you have the case where the therapist has run QA and everything is passed and you pass through and they're like, hey, why don't you just sign off on this since everything's good to go? This is the box you would click on to change the login in order for an authorized physicist or a physicist administrator to be able to sign off on that daily QA. So what do I mean by these things? So daily QA, for daily QA, monthly or manual, you're going to start with a machine ticket. Which machine am I going to perform QA on? On this one here, for example, and for those machines where QA has been performed in the past, The last time it was performed will be noted here, as well as the individual who performed it. And if there are any particular notes on that QA session, they will be displayed here as well. You simply click on this to get the list of your daily QA tests. I'm not actively connected to a panel right now because this is a demo. So it's telling me here I can't actually run any QA because I'm not connected to my panel or my device, right? Notice over here you have your summary, and then those that say no baseline, you also cannot run them because if you don't have a baseline to compare to, it cannot do its analysis. It makes sense. For those that do not require a baseline, you have a not run status. So we can start by saying, okay, what's new in 2.0? As you can see, brand new interface, nice summary pages, and the fact that we do not require a baseline for MLC garden fence anymore because we've upgraded to an absolute position test means that you can just go in and run this test. So what does it actually look like if I've run it? Let's go look at our review ticket. So our review tickets here are summary information about each QA session that has been run, the status of the QA that was run. We have an alert or error here, so you're going to want to go look at it. As a web-based application now, it's a locally hosted web application. Also something new to 2.0, right? Instead of a single machine install, you can install the application part on a server so that physicists sitting in their office can now review and sign off, where the therapist can be at the console and running the QA plans. Also, because it's web application, anything that is underscored is that hyperlink navigation to another page. So, for example, we're going to hyperlink over to here to be able to see what the alert was on. You get tabs up here for each of your irises that you ran in your iris batch, and it's going to show you where you had an alert. That is also something new to 2.0. Previously, we had error levels only, and now we've added an alert layer. We rather arbitrarily chose an alert level, something a bit close to the error threshold, but not quite. Of course, this is all user editable, the alert threshold as well as the error threshold. The error thresholds are defaults to the accurate recommendations. The menu repeats here to again tell you what was part of this QA session, and you can easily navigate from one to the other. Again, the MLC test has been upgraded in 2.0, so we show a lot more information on this page. We score the positions against the accuracy 4 criteria. Remember, there are 2 of them that are against that are bank specific and 2 that are individual leaf specific. If there are alerts and errors on individual leaves, they will be displayed on the schematic over here. And then, this is the segment results versus a total leaf result, because you could have one error on one leaf at 0.5 millimeters. But if you have 2 of those, then the leaf will fail. So that's why this one is an alert only. We go over here where we failed, you'll see that we have a 0.52 and a 0.57, so the leaf failed. So a lot of information to display. It's very important. You get your current image. And again, just to reiterate, once I've chosen that and click start, it's acquiring and analyzing and going to pop up this display for you in a matter of seconds. So from those review tickets, we're just gonna go back. You'll notice that if everything is going great, maybe you will only do a review on a weekly basis or every few days. You can choose whether to mark the 3 of those as reviewed and put in a review comment. Again, these comments that you're allowed to add in the QA session, as well as at the point of reviewing and signing off on QA, and as well as on our longitudinal reports, we can create, you can enter report comments. Those are new in 2.0 as well. I'm just going to cancel out of this, but otherwise you can mark these 3 days as reviewed. or you can choose to simply mark a single day as reviewed if you're somebody who's checking these on a daily basis, right? And again, the opportunity there to make a comment. Just going to leave them all there for demo purposes. And of course, if you had something like alerts or errors here, you would want to take a look at your trending. What is that telling us? Again, upgrade to 2.0. We trend every test metric, not a couple, not one or two, but every single thing that is scored again, that we're comparing to baseline or our absolute position test for the MLCs, we are trending that information. You have a summary page here, both for your CyberKnife dailies separated from your monthly QA. And of course, monthly QA can be done on Linux or other types of treatment machines. Those are single field analysis tests. But let's expand this one. And you can see exactly where your alerts and errors, which tests had those, as well as the last date QA was performed. And again, it's an opportunity to go in and look at, our worst performing. And we saw, looking at those daily results, that the banks were clear and fine. So we separate the bank criteria tests. It's just graphically displayed a lot easier that way. You get the graphs as well as the table data. And again, anything that you want to go look at, you just click on the underscore and you can do that. But this is the summary of those results. You also have the opportunity to hide a data point, if you will, which will remove it from the graph as you just saw. And this may be the case because we automatically store everything, right, to the database. You may have not let your MLCs warm up enough that day, so you have some failures. And you're like, oh, yeah, well, of course, I only gave it 5 minutes instead of the 10 or 15 it might have needed. You rerun your QA, and you go, okay, yep, things are warmed up as they should be. This makes sense to me. I'm going to hide the first test that I ran, so that doesn't necessarily get displayed in our trending or if I print my longitudinal report. But the data is always there if you want to understand it. You can hide and unhide with a simple click. So it was our leaves that caused consternation. And I know this is a busy looking screen, but all those things that passed when they're empty, it left a couple people going, did I actually do my QA? So we want absolutely no question. Your QA was performed. Where did I have an alert or where did I have an error? On the date, I can go back to the QA session, or I can go look at the individual leaf results. And you're going to see the results graphed per segment. And if I want to focus in on where was my actual problem, you can unclick items in order to zoom in on what was the issue. And again, you have your tabular data with your expected position and your deviation. Well, your expected value, and then your actual value and the deviation from expected. Notice up here, you may not have noticed this on the review tickets or when you're back in a daily QA session, but we have our CSV export or DICOM image export, as well as our PDF export up here to be able to create your PDF reports. So if I create a PDF report, there's the generate comment if I want to. If I want to generate the report, it's just going to go ahead and do that. Now notice the default is here for the past 30 days, but again, upgrade to the software. Not only are the reports better and nicely displayed with a table of contents, if you will, but you also have some date range selections here. The default, past 3 months, past year, or a custom date range where you select what you want. Comes in extremely handy if you've got an auditor or regulatory person in checking things and ask for a very specific report. You have it at your fingertips very quickly. You can see it created a download link here, and here we have that information about the individual leaves here. I also earlier printed off the MLC daily reports. If it's going, oops, nope, here we go. Daily report. And again, to show you what that's like, let me scroll up here. You have that summary page, again, your hospital information, a logo if you want one, who did the test, if there are any review comments, who signed off on the test. And then again, you can go through and look at your various information here. One thing I also wanted to show in, we'll go back to the review page to be able to do this, is on our iris batch in the previous version. Let's look at something that, well, on the previous version, you got the radial profile only. Here, the average radial profile, I should say. So here we default to the average radial profile, but actually you can scroll through and see baseline versus current at every 5 degrees around the 360, which is really nice. If something has an alert or an error, you can start to see if there's a certain part of the aperture that may be sticking, and trend that over time and check that over a few days. To see what's happening there. You can also go, oh, well, if I have an error on my 50 millimeter iris, well, maybe I want to take a closer look at that and run a monthly QA test in order to look at just my 50 millimeter iris and get some results for that. So, because monthly QA is individual analysis. So we can hop over to there. Again, you have for your machines, notice you have your Linac versus your CyberKnife machine. If I went over here, here are the ones that I've planned that I'm going to want to check in the future. If I've got an established baseline, I can go ahead and run those tests. I personally would recommend that when you set this up, that you create a monthly QA test in addition for each of the iris sizes, in addition to the daily one for the iris batch. And the reason being that baseline value for both daily and monthly, you're testing against that, right? The idea of changing a baseline on the fly, well, some promote that as a real feature and benefit to customers. It's not. QA should be rigorous and against a baseline. And if you're changing that baseline, not saying that people would generally do that, but changing it on the fly and my QA suddenly passes doesn't really give you a good historical overview of what's happening with your machine. And that's the information you need, which we provide a wealth of it in StereoChecker 2.0 that is really important for those of you responsible for good machine uptime. Manual QA, again, is per our machine, and in this one, again, you want to make sure you have your cal file, you can composite your segments. And for the manual, because there's no baseline, nor is it an absolute, it's I'm doing some research or I want to try something out. I need a high resolution image of whatever it may be. I'm not a physicist, so I couldn't anticipate. You can use your StereoChecker to acquire that image, a single image or up to 10 images that you want composited, and create a DICOM export file that you can then view in ImageJ or whatever other program you may be using. So how do we get to this easiness of one click for QA? And that is in our settings page, right? When you get the device, the first thing you're going to do once you've activated your license is go into settings and set up your clinic, set up your machines. And again, this is where the magic happens because we've simplified things greatly. The name and the serial number and your machine type are the things you need to fill out, as well as your collimators. So if I pretended to add a machine here, it's telling me I need a name and I need a serial number. Is it a CyberKnife or is it a Linac? And you'll see your collimators change based on those choices. I'm going to pick that I have an S7, and then I'm going to click which collimators I have on my machine. Once I do that and save it, the daily test will automatically populate based on the collimator size, collimator types I've chosen. So we're not going to do anything here, but we'll go back to the machine that has it. So we're looking at our daily test. We have our 3 collimator types. Everything is defaulted here. In settings, because again, we don't want to have to click all over the place and go to a bunch of different places. Selecting a test shows you what your thresholds are defaulted to. They should be reviewed by the physicist and adjusted if deemed necessary. And your baseline is right in here as well. Again, I'm not connected, so I can't do it, but you simply click the button to create a new baseline. You would deliver your beam, your image and results would display, and you can accept or discard. And then we keep a record of when baselines were created. Any change in baseline will appear as a vertical line on the trending graph, so that you have an indicator of when things may have been, a service may have been performed, or it's the annually you want, at a minimum, annually you want to reset your baselines, whatever that may you judge most important. Like after you do your annual QA, it's like, okay, we did our new QA, we're satisfied with that. Now it's time to run our new baselines with StereoChecker, and apply those for the coming year, unless you have service in between time, in which case you'd probably want to, whatever QA you do with that, with a water tank or something like that, then you're going to want to reset your baselines here as well. So daily tests or monthly tests, and to add a test is super simple. It's an MLC field. What size field am I doing in millimeters? Maybe I'm doing probably 10, 10 by 10. And I'm just going to save it. And there we go. We add it, and it lets you know I don't have a baseline for this. Review your threshold, and then create that baseline. So super simple, super simple. We kept it clean. Everything is there. These are significant upgrades to the software here, what I've shown you in the settings as well. Another new thing in 2.0 is that we have more user types. So if I'm going to add a user, I won't fill this in now, but previously we had only therapists and physicists. But we recognize that, there are small institutions that may just have, or small clinics that may have just a therapist and a physicist. But there are also large university settings where you have a range of physicists with different responsibilities and duties, and rights. So we added an authorized physicist who can sign off on QA, a physicist admin who has access to everything, and we haven't added an administrator, but administrator does not have overall rights in StereoChecker. They basically act as an HR function, right? If your chief physicist leaves your center, then you need somebody with the rights to be able to go in and create a new user, and give them the rights to create the baselines, to create tests, to run those tests, to sign off on tests. So those are 3 new user levels that we have. The panel, and again, we have our calibration for that. We added preference. Right now, the only preference that is there is the idle timeout, because many institutions don't want web pages just open indefinitely. So it can be from 1 to 30 minutes is the maximum right now. We have a roadmap of things we want to do, and we want to add some things to this, like date and number formats for users. I think that was a pretty good overview of what we got going on, and we're getting shorter on time. So let's go back to the PowerPoint here and continue on. So again, just a reminder, these tests are run very quickly. The 5-minute estimate here is really making sure that the CyberKnife has the time to deliver, probably 4+ minutes out of the 5 minutes is the CyberKnife preparing and then delivering beam, because we do all of our QA in clinical mode, so it's directly translatable to how your patients are treated. So rigorous stereotactic QA matters, speed and accuracy matter, quantitative results matter, and the QA StereoChecker delivers on all counts. Summarize the QA StereoChecker's tremendous benefits for users. Single device setup, so one trip into the vault to get set up for all your QA. That saves you time. Single software application for automatic integrated image acquisition, analysis, saving all of that. We've reduced the clicks to 1. Can't get much better than that, in order to save you time and make it effortless to use. Seamless QA fits easily into the therapist's morning routine. Again, so streamlined that single click not only starts your tests, but automatically has the image or images analyzed, results displayed, saved, and trended as well. Both images and test results are saved to a database for easy retrieval and review at any time. The comprehensive trending and reporting, as well as the DICOM and CSV exports, ensure that you have the most complete information at hand to track machine performance, which helps ensure machine uptime and safe patient treatments. What we're all here for. With that, I'll take a minute to see if any questions have come through, or give you an opportunity to ask any questions. Again, type those into your console if you have them. Be sure to reach out to me or to reach out to our sales team, or to go check out things on standardimaging.com. We have a wealth of information there. Please take a look. And with that, I will say thank you so much for joining me today, and have a great rest of your day wherever you may be.